Without much ado, I would now like to call upon our first speaker of the day, Professor Nandini Sahu. But before that, I would like Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh, Head of the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, to please deliver a welcome address.
A warm good morning to all the participants and greetings of the day. From this forum, I may please take this opportunity to extend greetings and heartiest congratulations to our very own speaker of the day, Madam Nandini Sahu, for chairing and celebrating the Vice-Chancellor chair. And it is a pleasant news as if for this all academic fraternity. And I may please request all the participants to even have a huge round of applause for ma'am and for sparing time to all of us. Ma'am, uh, before we enter into the, you know, this formal interactions of this seminar and conference, I would like to give you a little idea that how this third international conference journey made possible. It was made possible. I would like to again. We all are literary, lovers, and that. So that way, I would like to take the literary metaphors for describing this journey. One fine morning, in the lap of Himalayas, sitting in the city of Una, modern three idiots, Sanjay Prasad Pandeji, Sudhir Narayan Singh, and Raman Jaswal, we were discussing over a cup of tea that what can be done for creating a forum for academic fraternity in a way. And then we come up with this idea that we can create a forum in the name of ELLC, English Language and Literature, and then conference, and we can jointly host this. So we started. One was located in Himalayas, Raman Jaswalji, Himachal Pradesh, and Sanjay Prasad Pandey was at the time located in Punjab, and I from Uttar Pradesh. And luckily, we were able to gather you, ma'am, your attention from Bengal. So, and people from almost all the states, Omila Thwangam from Manipur, and all that. Nonetheless, our ideas could spread its wings even beyond the border of national border, and then we could attract the scholars from all across the globe. This year we are having 7 country participants, right from Nigeria, Turkey, and Kenya, Uzbekistan, India, US, and UK. So that way we could reach. This is the brief of the small journey. We started with postmodernism in literature, then we come up with the digital humanities, and then this is the third conference dedicated to the sustainable development goals by United Nations. When we were discussing about the title of the conference, so our conference president Sanjay Prasad Pandeji said, why sustainable development goals only that is envisioned by the United Nations? There are countries who are a part of United Nations, and there are other countries who are apart from United Nations. So let us have the all embracing title, and then we come up with the term sustainable global goals. So whether you are part of United Nations, any country or not, that we are all inclusive. And nonetheless, this is the earth, the planet where human life is possible only. One earth, one environment, and one planet. As head department of humanities and social science, I may take this pride that we could think of the whole humankind, even not only that, the flora, fauna, and life within the earth, life below the water, and life above the earth. So we started talking about that, and our concern came and started taking shape. So not only that, yesterday I say our Vice-Chancellor said, Madan Mohan Malviya University of Technology VC Professor JP Saini Saab, he joined us, and he, in his welcome address, he said that people of world community should gather together for the greatest causes like this. And he also appreciated us a lot for releasing e-souvenir, that he said that you are doing a great environmental service, that papers are not involved and e-souvenir is there. So technology is playing a game from forefront. And yesterday we could you assemble scholars from basic sciences, scholars from engineering, and scholars from the field of humanities and literature. So that way we had that forum. And today, ma'am, under your patronage, under your blessings, and under the partnership of our patron of this conference, chief patron was Professor JP Sani Saab, our vice chancellor. And today we are having also our patron Rajkumar ji from LNJH Himutkar Girls Degree College, that is from Himachal Pradesh. Rajkumar ji, principal over there. And what could we receive for support from Raman Jaswal ji? And not only that, we are in a way, in modern day, whosoever is assembled here in the as the part of this conference, we all are pen friends. And because our writings are clubbed together on a single forum, and that pen friendship will grow over and go on. I would like to recall, I use a little bit Urdu for making this forum. I would like to say, तुम्हारे लफ्ज तो सागर हैं डायनामाइट, कलम से आग लगाओ तो कोई बात बने. So that way, we all on this forum, pen friends, and using the power of pen to for the establishment of humanities, for the establishment of global peace. There was a talk that says that vultures are today clawless because people of pen are clueless. We are many species are getting extinct day by day. They are bidding goodbye to this planet, and these species are going away from us. So somewhere we all are responsible for that. Y.S. Rajanji said in his book that humanities, none of the species, they killed their own kind of species, like even animals do fight, they do kill, but they don't use weapons to kill their own fellow beings, their own kind of species. That's where somewhere the problem is, and that's where we are required to extend our sensitivity even beyond the borders. Otherwise, the borders fight will leave no border and no humanity. There will be we will shall be the not the last to witness and see and survive on this planet. For sustainable global growth and sustainable global goals, sustainable global aspirations, first thing is required to go for the environmental concerns, because only atmosphere is there. If it rises because of global warming even one layer, we shall be no more, and life shall be no more. For that purpose we are here, and I, as the convener of the program, extend my heartfelt welcome to you, ma'am. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for offering your blessings to on showering your blessings on all of us. Thank you, ma'am, and it's all over to you. Please.
We thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. I would now like to welcome Professor Nandini Sahu with a huge round of applause. She has just been elected As the Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Hindu University, West Bengal, India, we welcome you, ma'am. And I do know we do have a time crux, but I would still like to read a very small bio note of yours. Professor Nandini Sahu, Amazon's best-selling author 2022, Professor of English and former Director, School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU, New Delhi, India. She is an established Indian English poet, creative writer, and folklorist. She is the author and editor of 20 books, the recipient of the Literary Award Gold Medal from the Honorable Vice President of India for her contribution to English studies. She is the recipient of the prestigious Michael Madhusudan Award 2024. Her areas of research interest cover new literatures, critical theory, folklore and culture studies, children's literature, and American literature. Currently, she is working on a major project on Indian knowledge systems, which is inclined to comparative Indian literatures and cultures as well as Hindu studies. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. May I?
Yes, ma'am, surely. The floor is all yours.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, LPU, Lovely Professional University, for inviting me to the third international conference, ELCC 2024, to deliver the keynote address today. I'm grateful to Dr. Sanjay Prasad Pandey, my host, who has been constantly in touch with me all these days, talking about the conference and about my engagements and about the schedule and everything. So, sir, thank you so much for hosting me today. And Professor Sudhir Narayan Singh, the head of the department, who had so many kind words about me and who informed me about the seminar, about the conference. This indeed is a very, very important subject that you have taken up to conduct this international conference. And I believe that it is truly, truly interdisciplinary because already Professor Singh informed that people not just from literature departments, but from anthropology, sociology, science and technology, and from engineering departments, people from all all specializations and all departments have joined this conference as participants and speakers. Today, I will focus on a few topics, and I'll start with what Safik talked in the beginning about the knowledge systems. Knowledge is a system or systematic representation or systemic representation of knowledge is very, very important when we talk about pedagogical engagements. There was a time when we used to say that knowledge is power. Today, the utilization of knowledge is power. How much knowledge is there on the internet, on the World Wide Web, and in the books and everywhere around us is definitely very important, but how we share that knowledge and those knowledge systems is more important than that. And I strongly agree with the point of view of the scholars, many scholars or the philosophers, that knowledge sharing is knowledge production. I'm sure that this kind of a seminar where all of you have come with your own research interests, areas of research and your research publications, and then you have talked about your interests and you have shared with each other. You have definitely produced more knowledge by sharing your knowledge systems. So I agree with what Safik said about the knowledge systems. I have been working on varieties of subjects, like folklore is my important area of research. I am a teacher of English literature in many universities since 2 decades, and I have worked on the British literature and American literature and all those mainstream subjects. I will put it in quote unquote as the mainstream subjects. I have worked on those. Apart from those, I have also worked on folklore, culture studies, Hindu studies kind of subjects which are not into the canonical and the mainstream subjects. I work on green cultural studies, and then that resonates with what Professor Singh now told about, the world of animals, the world of human beings, and the world of the green, the environment. I also work on blue humanities and ocean humanities. That is about the water. And I have done some research on subjects like how water plays an important role in literature and in Indian mythology and in folklore. You look at the different avatars of Lord Vishnu, like the Kurma avatar and some of those which are so closely associated with water. So our Indian mythology and Indian literature, the Bhasha literatures, all of them are somehow engaged with green cultural studies and blue humanities, ocean studies. And literature has taken up these subjects in a big way. The people of literature are no more intradisciplinary. There was a time when English teachers or English scholars used to be intradisciplinary. They used to discuss the subject within itself. But with time, with the introduction of culture studies and cultural studies in English departments, we have become truly interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and multidisciplinary. So that is where English literature, or let us say world literature, not English literature, but today's topic is world literature. It has been contributing to cultural studies, to blue humanities, ocean studies, ecofeminism, folk literature, Hindu studies, climate change, animal studies, environment studies, sound culture studies. When Professor Singh talked about the sound systems and about engineering participants in this seminar, I was immediately reminded about sound culture studies. The term comes from engineering, and people of literature like us, we have adopted that. Literature is very, very flexible, very inclusive. Without interfering into the strict boundaries of the other disciplines, we adopt and we adapt ideas from all other disciplines, starting from medicine and engineering and social sciences. Today medical literature is coming up in a big way. There are many novels, there are many literary texts who talk about medical humanities. Even in Hyderabad, in the Central University of Hyderabad, they have a course on AIDS studies. How, when a person suffering from AIDS as a disease can be engaged in literature, with literature, and then how literature can help the person to recover from the trauma. And trauma studies is also coming up in a big way. And we talk about climate change in ecofeminism, like Amitabh Ghosh. And then when I worked on folklore, when I started working on Indian knowledge systems and indigenous knowledge systems when the country was not talking about it. Nobody talked about Indian knowledge systems in the year 2007 and 8. That is when I designed my first ever folklore program, PG Diploma in Folklore and Culture Studies. And then I got in touch with many important folklorists of the world. I had discourses with them, I had lectures with them. Then I designed study material of nothing less than 10,000 pages at that point of time on folk literature. And then later on, during COVID 2021 and 22, I offered the MA program in folk literature. You can just go to my university website, igno.ac.in, and you can find the open access material on folk literature from MA FCS e-Gyan course, where we have written near about 20,000 pages on folk literature, world folk literatures. We have taken Caribbean folk, we have taken Latin American folk, we have taken Hispanic folk literatures, then Cinderella folk literatures from France, then we have taken Arabian Nights, and we have made a comparative study of all those world folk literatures with Indian folk literatures from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So that is where there is a collaboration of the best brains of the world. So when you talk about world literature, I have to think about the very many literatures of the world in many languages where translation is the key. Through translation of the world literatures into English, English being the window language here, we have introduced the world literatures and the world folklore to our students in a big way. So today it's an honor for me to stand before you to discuss a topic of profound importance: sustainable global goals in world literature. Sustainable is the most important word here. Something that is sustainable, something that will continue, something that is not just a part of this discussion in this international conference and then later on we forget about it. Rather, when it is sustainable, it is like forever. We will talk about it forever. So I would request Professor Singh and also the other participants like Dr. Sanjay Prasad Pandey, who has been doing a great service to literature. I would request them that after this conference, take out all the important research papers from everybody and then allow us to publish those, in many platforms. And then that research should be exposed to people around the world. And then, coming back to my topic, ecofeminism. Ecofeminism is coming up in a big way as a part of our pedagogical systems. And then, when you talk about ecofeminism, you actually include many things. Simplistically, ecofeminism is about a feminist writer who is thinking about ecology. That is a simplistic interpretation that I gave for the students. But in a much more complex and an engaging way, ecofeminism deals with many things like green cultural studies, ocean humanities, folklore and culture studies, Hindu studies, the mainstream literatures like American, British, and all those, world literatures, European literatures, Australian literatures, the languages, study of languages under the dying languages research. We have researches on language depth. There were 6 lakh languages in the world, and today there are only 6,000. What happened to rest of the languages? Under ecofeminism, we talk about that. Ecofeminism also talks about the girl child, the senior citizens, climate change, human trafficking, environment pollution, and how to handle that, how to challenge that pollution. And then an ecofeminist actually thinks about food and livestock for all, providing food, livestock, and education for everyone around is the aim of an ecofeminist. So I think all other theories around, like you talk about gender, about postmodernism, postmodernism, you talk about, hospitality studies, hospitality, you talk about, medical humanities, so many things, but everything will come under ecofeminism in some or other way. So the scholars sitting out there, I would suggest that you get into ecofeminism as a researcher and not as exactly as a feminist, but as a researcher. But yes, I will come to feminism. I think everyone in the world should be a feminist because feminism is not about protecting the rights of women exactly. It's about uh, being flexible and being inclusive with all genders. In my gender studies classes, I deal with masculinity studies and then LGBTQ, which means lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender studies, queer studies, and feminism. So all these things, all the genders coming together create gender studies as a very important area of research. And then we talk about the challenges of sustainability and social justice together in ecofeminism. The United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which you call the SDGs, they have their ambitious blueprint to end poverty, protect the planet, ensure peace and prosperity for all, demand a unified effort through literature as a reflection of human consciousness and imagination. And it has a critical role to play in this journey. World literature has a role to play. World literature has long served as a mirror of the society, capturing the struggles, the victories, and the aspirations of people. When I worked on folk literature, for my diploma programs and the MA programs. And recently, I designed one course on, stories from epics, Puranas, and Siddhantas, which is a part of Indian knowledge systems. It's interesting that I designed that course for the engineering department for BSc Energy, a course on Indian knowledge systems for BSc Energy. Dr. Nitin Pitrodia is sitting here. He is one of the contributors to that course, and he is one of the excellent scholars that I know. He has also written a couple of chapters for that course, where we are talking about the science and technology behind Indian knowledge systems. For example, there is one chapter where we are discussing the geometrical patterns of the Kurukshetra. And I have actually, refreshed my geometry, my mathematics when we wrote that chapter. Sorry, cold. Okay, so we are talking about how Abhimanyu understood the geography, the geography partially because his mother got into sleep when Lord Krishna was narrating the Kurukshetra to her. And then, without understanding the complete geometry behind the Kurukshetra, he got into it. Abhimanyu got into it, and then he could not come out of it because part of that geographical system or the mathematical knowledge system was not comprehended by Abhimanyu, so he could not come out of the Chakravyuha. We have those kind of chapters, and in one of the chapters we talk about surrogacy as a part of our medicinal system in Indian knowledge systems, and then how surrogacy was very much there. At least the discussion about surrogacy was there in the Mahabharata. Think about Kunti and Madri and their pregnancies and how they were able to exchange their wombs. We talk about that without claiming that there is any research point or any reference in our Hindu texts or Hindu knowledge systems. We have talked about the idea of imagination, how that imagination was there. The imagination of surrogacy was there. And today, look at the medicinal systems in the world. Surrogacy has become so common. So these kind of seminars are definitely, conferences are definitely a platform to talk about the amalgamation, the queer combination of many knowledge systems, medicines, science, technology, literature, and social sciences, and even economics. We talk about world economy in these kind of seminars, and my job here is to appraise you how literature can play an important role in discussing those kinds of knowledge systems. Let us explore how literature illuminates and advocates for sustainable global goals and inspires action towards a better future. The first point that I would like to take up when I pinpoint literature, let us talk about literature as a catalyst for environmental awareness. The looming climate crisis has found a compelling voice in literature. Writers like Margaret Atwood in the text The Year of the Flood or Amitav Ghosh in The Great Derangement, they challenge us to confront the environmental devastation by humanity's unchecked ambitions. Even COVID was, it was a warning bell for us that human beings have somehow decided that we are the best among all the species of the world. But COVID told us that Anthropocene and anthropomorphism, which is study of human beings and study of other animals, everything should come together, and all the creatures have equal importance in the world, and human beings definitely are not the best species on earth. Somehow we have understood, we have decided that, maybe because of our brains, or maybe because we think that we are the most powerful creatures in the world. So indigenous literatures from authors like Leslie Merman Silko or Joy Harshaw or Linda Hogan, who I have taken as a part of our MA folk literature in Native American folk literatures, claim an ancient harmony with nature, offering alternative ways of living sustainably. Those works transcend the borders, requesting us to view the planet Earth as a shared home with the animals and the plants, and not as a resource to exploit. We have been exploiting the planet Earth, and literature asks us to stop it. My next point would be literature's advocacy for social equity or to challenge poverty, gender equality, and challenging poverty. From Charles Dickens' critique of industrial poverty in hard times to the powerful voices of contemporary feminist writers like C.N. Adichie in the text, We Should All Be Feminists. I was talking about that. We should all be feminists. Literature exposes inequalities, and then it envisions more towards social justice. Through the words, writers humanize data and statistics. They turn abstract issues into tangible emotional narratives. These stories compel the readers to empathize and act, bridging the gap between policy and personal commitments. How the students will behave. Suppose I ask the students to drink some oxygen, they will not understand it. But if I offer them a cup of water and oxygen is definitely there in the water, then they will drink it without knowing. Literature plays the role of that kind of an oxygen that is present in water. You drink a glass of water, you actually drink a lot of oxygen. You read literature, you actually understand life in a more complex and a more positive, optimistic, and a more inclusive way. My next point would be amplifying the marginalized voices. So, who are the marginalized voices? I remember long back, Nandita Das, the celebrity actor and the director, she had come to IGNOU, to my university, to deliver a lecture on the self and the other. Somebody asked her to mention what is the self and what is the other. She said that in a very simple way for the students. She said, in a room full of all white people, a black is the other. In a room full of all rich people, a poor is the other. In a room tips, these texts foster cultural understanding and they advocate for a world where all identities and communities are valued equally. This is what I learned when I wrote my long poetry book Sita. Sita, a poem, you can find it on internet. I wrote Sita in the year 2015, and then I read 300 Ramayans. So for me, not a single Ramayan, say Malviki's Ramayana or the Ramcharitmanas or any Ramayana for that matter, is not the mainstream, or no folk Ramayana is the marginalized or the other text. When I read the 300 Ramayans, I was humbled. I got to know so many folk Ramayans in the world, not just India, in the world, and the voices of the various characters from the Ramayana. And then I wrote my long poetry collection, Sita. And that collection is all over the place. People are reading and appreciating it, and I'm so humbled by that. My Sita is not a brooding, crying, complaining woman who complains about being left alone during her pregnancy. Rather, my Sita is a progressive, independent, and free thinking woman who takes life in her stride. When she is left alone in the forest during pregnancy, she uses it as her strength. She is a mother. She is a great teacher to the Ashramites in the Valmiki ashram. She is a great cook. She takes care of Mother Nature. She is an eco-feminist. She is a healer. So, even in my poetry, I have 9 poetry collections, but the upcoming poetry collections are Medusa, and another one is Kernel. In almost all my poetry collections, I talk about uh, identities, and then I talk about body politics, and also I talk about mythology and folklore. Somehow those theorizations come in my poetry as well. Uh, promoting sustainability, Promoting sustainable cities and communities is another point under the world literary studies. Urbanizations, which promises about promises a good life to all of us, is a recurring theme in literature. In the poetry collection Land by Jayant Mahapatra, late Professor Jayant Mahapatra, one of the best poets in Indian English poetry, he talks about landscape as identity. Writers have been talking about how cities can shape and reshape human lives. So, travel literatures, people travel from place to place. You know, when I worked on folk literature, I saw that similar kind of folk themes were discussed in many parts of the world. African folk literatures, Australian indigenous folk literatures, and in Indian folk literatures, all of them have similar kind of themes and techniques and presentations. Imagine folk literature is ancient, folk literature is oral. Rather, later on, we are documenting the folk literatures. So people were traveling by foot, on foot. They were going from place to place. So travel has actually encouraged the collaboration of various world literatures since time immemorial. This is not just new where we catch a flight and go to the other part of the world today. Rather, during a time when there were no means of travel, like there was no ship, there was no airplane, even then people were traveling from place to place, and then they were writing literature which was similar and which had the similar tone and tenure. So those folk literatures and the contemporary literatures on identity and land and travel, they invite us to consider how urban spaces can become more inclusive, resilient, sustainable, promoting cohesion rather than division and compromise. The universal power of storytelling can change the whole world. Beyond industrial themes, literature unites us in the shared experiences of storytelling. It reminds us of our collective humanity, transcending cultural, linguistic, and national boundaries. Whether it is the epic 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is my all time favorite book, or the allegorical Animal Farm by George Orwell, which is again a very complex and a very dear text to me. Literature distills the complexities of global challenges into narratives that resonate across the generations. Actionable insights from literature is the key. What can we as readers, writers, and educators take from the actionable insight of literature? Empathy. I emphasize empathy as a foundation of action, and storytelling, which can transform passive concerns into active engagements. Like I said, if you go to your classroom and give them some moralities or some moral values as points, they will not take it. But if you tell them through stories, then moralities and important value systems can be transferred to our students. And literature is the key point here. Literature can help you to help your students through storytelling. There should be interdisciplinary connections. Literature can work in tandem with science, technology, economics, and politics, which I have been already telling you that this new course, stories from epics, Puranas, and Siddharthas, when I wrote about Surya Siddhanta, Pancha Siddhantika, and Siddhanta Shiromani, I was taken back to science. How Galileo or Newton, they have talked about important scientific inventions in the world, and how literature or Indian knowledge systems, they were already talking about those things. So literature has interdisciplinary connections. There is education and there is awareness in literature. Integrating sustainable global goals into our curricula through literature can equip the next generation with both knowledge and imagination to build a sustainable future. I would conclude by saying creation of a folk mind is important. Now, who is a folk mind? A mind like you and me. Somebody who is willing to learn new things, or somebody who is open to new ideas. Somebody who is thinking about the oralities and the indigenous studies, about people who are marginalized, people who are the subaltern. So when you have a folk mind, you will understand these things. So literature asks us to create a folk mind for yourself. Remaining a sustainable world through literature is most important. World literature is more than a passive reflection of a society, it is an active force for change. By addressing the sustainable development goals, literature can mobilize minds and hearts, fostering a collective consciousness that prioritizes equality, justice, and environmental security. Therefore, today I request all the participants here to celebrate and harness the transformative power of literature, world literature, in achieving a sustainable future. The pen, after all, is not just mightier than the sword, it is also a tool for planting the seeds of hope, resilience, and complete change. Like Mahatma Gandhi would say, be the change that you expect the world to become. So be the change first. Be a folklorist. Be a person of inclusivity, empathy, compassion, and create a folk mind in yourself. Thank you. Now it's open for questions and discussions.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for establishing and becoming also a bridge among all interdisciplinary academic disciplines. And here, this session is important because not only important because you are speaking, rather the nociological interlinkages, truly that is one of the key themes of our concept, our conference also. And only you could deliberate upon the topic in such a sweet manner that sometime people from the field of medicine, even you cannot believe, I couldn't resist myself to dialing my medical officer and said that you come here, there is something for you. And I in between your call, I couldn't resist provoking my research scholar of cultural studies that concentrate, there is something for you. I couldn't resist, pointing out my another scholar who is working on Dalit feminism to concentrate that is there is something for you. One of my research scholar very recently developed a paper on LGBTQ. There is something for him as well. There is something. We were having the economics faculty member, in between. Right now, one of them is sitting, and one research scholar is sitting over here. So there is something for economics. What else can create a better forum for cohesive in humanities, where even there is a space for medical humanities, and where there is a space for trauma studies, where there is a space for historic studies, where there is a space for folk literature, where there is a space for you know uh, classical epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, where there is a space for identifying the inner power of Sita, and where there is a space for, you know, having geometric studies in the form of Abhimanyu, and citing that example and geometrical analysis of Kurukshetra, and where there is a space for anything that is inside the universe. That was universe became alive when you were talking. Global goals became touched upon, and the whole of the countries were vibrant, and their aspirations, their dreams to focused on that. And it was a very, very celebrated fine morning moment which we were enjoying. It really touched our heart, and as convener of this conference, I am overwhelmed to listen. Even I can see a blinking comment. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a nice address. Somebody is writing in chat box, while on the screen I can, though even I should wear power glasses to read all that, but and it's a quite distance from my place to the screen where uh, everything is being displayed. But to read the text is a challenge, but everything could be assembled, could be amalgamated, could be focused, all inclusive. Pankaj Gupta is writing awesome talk. I can read his comment over there. And so many participants. Dr. Nitin Pitadia is writing, thank you, ma'am. Everything is, I can read a lot many comments. Monica Rena, what an excellent deliberation, and quite informative. Kulbhushan Sharmaji. So we can see that such a sweet commentary is coming. Not only that, your talk was a talk to the heart, a food to the thought, and we can be deliberating upon, thinking upon, quoting upon, citing you and your thoughts. What could have been better, day to start the second day of this third international conference on sustainable global goals and sociological interlinkages. And I am humbled that you accepted our invitation and you be with us. Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Thanks so much. I kindly accept our humble pranam from the University of Madan Mohan Malviya University of Technology. Thanks.
Thank you. Namaste. So can I log out? I have another meeting.
Okay, sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for this engaging and wholesome talk. On behalf of our audience, I would like to say your quote that literature is the oxygen of life. That has really stuck by us.
Yes.
You have beautifully blended the storytelling that bridges social consciousness and artistic expression. And I believe all of us will be deliberating upon it and taking your ideas to expand further. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Please do that. And I request all of you to collaborate with me in your research and contribute to me like Dr. Nitin has already